Okay, so here's what might be happening to you. You're in the middle of your job search process, or perhaps at the beginning, and you start to read job descriptions, and even just the act of reading the job description makes you feel tired. It makes you feel like you don't want to do that work. And this is, again, what I'm going to call vocational misalignment fatigue. It's not about laziness. It's not about wanting to do the work, not wanting to do the work. This is the signature with someone with a deep awareness that the type of work that you have been doing is not in alignment with what you want to do with your life or even just at the moment. So here's what's actually true. You're not lazy, you're discerning. You're not tired of work, you're tired of performing roles that don't allow you to feel a full body yes, right? Imagine you're in a position, perhaps the one you're in right now, and you feel perhaps stunted in a way. There's no room for growth, or just the tasks and the responsibilities are just not what you want to do. It's not that you're unmotivated, it's that you're not being met with your true motivators. You're just missing out on those key factors that make you hyper motivated. And if they're missing, your system essentially goes limp. Okay? And I really mean that. You're not rejecting the work, you're just seeking alignment. So, this is the point where you need to figure out what matters to you. So, here's what could actually be emerging. You're looking to claim work that mirrors who you are. Deep down, you might need a North Star for what to build with your career path or vocation. This is, fortunately, an inflection point of someone who's about to find alignment for real. You might feel like you've been in this space of what was never yours and what's now finally aligned. You're probably too self aware to go unconscious again in a role. What do I mean by that? Think about how many times you might have been on autopilot, or the term that they call quiet quitting, right? You and your system do not want to go unconscious. You don't want to passively be working through whatever it is that you are doing right now. And you're picking that up from those job descriptions, knowing that they are not going to take you to where you need to go. So here are three options that I find to be best. But ultimately, this is going to depend on how far out of alignment you feel, and the level of effort you're willing to put in. I think that you could do all three of these in a sequence, and they would still work out very well and at least be informative of those next steps that you might need to take in order to align your vocation with something that feels good for you. So the first is to study people that have your dream job. And I just mean to simply go on LinkedIn, look for companies that you know offer the roles that you want, go to the people section, and then within there, try to find someone that has, again, that job title that you want. And then take a look at their LinkedIn profile. What did they study? What was their career progression? Did they receive certifications or additional upskilling along the way that might have helped them get to that point? I know for me, for someone in marketing, it was helpful to look at other marketing leadership profiles and look at people who might have started as a marketer, but perhaps got upskilled in maybe a design background and then were able to go work in brand. You never know what path some people might take, but there's certain patterns that you might be able to notice that will be super helpful to you in your process. I would try to look at several different companies. Ideally, you should have an idea of the industry that you want to work in, or maybe it is just a specific subset of companies, because that way it will narrow down those patterns even more, to sort of give you some self-direction on where perhaps you might need to plug in gaps that might exist. And I would definitely start here because this is honestly the lowest level of effort that you can put in. LinkedIn is free. Hopefully you already have an account. I'm also assuming you're working a corporate role, even if that is not the case. Social media is super big nowadays. If you work in the service industry or fitness, like myself, there are so many ways that you can kind of go through somebody's evolution on their own social media profile, understand perhaps if it's in the context of a trainer. Did they start working at a gym? Did they start online? What was the progression there, right? So much information can be found online. So definitely use that as your very, 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 very first step if you are still unsure of, what that next best role or path is for you. The second is to work with a career coach or a resume writer or somebody that does both. But I want to get really specific here and say that it is best for you to work with a career coach and resume writer who is familiar with your job role or department. So again, I'm going to use myself as an example. Professionally, I work in marketing. And I have worked with a career coach who was not necessarily in marketing, but it helped a variety of professionals sort of update their resumes. But the problem that you might find there is that generically they understand that you need to find keywords and whatnot. But when you work with somebody who is very much in your department, which is marketing or organization within a company, they will be able to understand the nuances of what other marketers look for when hiring. And so, say, for example, you've had maybe a non-linear career progression, or you have tried out very different marketing roles, and now you feel sure on what it is that you want to specialize in, and you're kind of having trouble aligning that resume. That person will be able to tell you exactly what the hiring manager might be looking for. And therefore, that advice is going to be a little bit more tailored than just copy editing the bullet points, making sure that there's action words and impact. That is always going to be important. But at least for me, in my situation, I found the conversation with the career coach in marketing to be a lot more helpful than a generic one. The other thing is you don't have to pay somebody hundreds of dollars to get this done. Typically, somebody that is a little bit more niched, so in your department, might charge a little bit less because they might be doing it on the side versus somebody doing it more full time. And so they're able to work with anyone. So just something to keep in mind, especially if you have a budget and you're kind of squeezed right now, both mentally and resource wise, because you're trying to find that best next step. You don't have to spend hundreds of dollars. You could even offer to have a coffee chat with someone. I think there's so many ways to sort of get that very niched down advice on your resume. That does not necessarily mean hiring a career coach or resume writer. So this third method is for when you are feeling really out of alignment. You might not even want to stay within your current department. You might want to take on a completely different vocation, something like I did, which was moving from marketing to fitness. And so you really need to dig down to the soul layer to figure out how that might make sense for you and what that might look like and the reasons why that might be coming up inside you. So there's two things here. First, you can take career quizzes. There's so many out there, and I think a lot of them are very helpful for understanding what you naturally feel inclined to do. What is that natural skill set? I don't necessarily mean the ones that you've acquired along the way through working, but perhaps feeling like you innately want to get in and lead things, or perhaps you're someone that really likes to be behind the scenes and organizing. There's so many career quizzes that are really excellent for digging down into those layers and then can perhaps spit out some job roles that you might not have considered before. And that might be way out of a department that you have had close proximity with. So something to consider there. The second method and I hope I don't lose you here, is going to be employing some ancient wisdom, so astrology and numerology. Honestly, if you're feeling very lost, I would highly, highly, highly recommend this. There might be things that you feel very, very deep down, but are just unsure if that's even a viable career path. And sometimes it doesn't have to be an entire career path. It could just be something that you do on the side that brings you a lot of fulfillment. So I would really recommend that you start here. There are a few chat GPT prompts that you can use to make that work for you. I will put one of them here. The first one is going to be a destiny map maker based on your life path and soul urge. These numbers explain the path that you're meant to walk and the detours that might hold you back. The second one is asking ChatGPT to act as your purpose alignment coach, looking at your core numbers. So this is going to include your birth date, and it'll tell you what career paths, relationships, and lifestyle choices are most aligned with your soul's blueprint. And I think both of those prompts combined should give you enough to start thinking. Ultimately, this is your life. You will have your own experiences. For me, it was able to just kind of reaffirm this path that I'm on with fitness and working in the wellness space. But it also rang true that this is why I love marketing, because I do love the research. I do love getting down to the analytics of things, understanding what makes people tick, which is very much a fundamental of marketing and branding. So I at least know that those two paths are important to me and are very important layering for me and my just sort of life path and soul development. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, very short today. And I understand that vocational misalignment fatigue is a very real thing. Obviously, I just came up with the term, but that's what I felt like it was. I hope that you can make a commitment to yourself to really explore to the fullest extent what it is that you might want to do. It's definitely not fun sitting in a job feeling like you don't belong, but sometimes that process is very necessary. So I hope that these tools could be helpful to you in some way. Thanks and take care.